Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour. India's GDP grows at 8.4% in December quarter. Financial year 24 growth pegged at 7.6%. Prime Minister Modi says robust GDP growth shows strength of Indian economy and its potential. In a joint leap for India's Semiconductor Mission, 3 mega semiconductor fabrication plants to be set up in partnership with Japan, Taiwan and Thailand. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns of a nuclear war risk if NATO troops are sent to Ukraine, says Moscow ready to dialogue with United States on strategic stability. And at WTO Ministerial Conference at Abu Dhabi, India calls for policy flexibility for digital industrialization, highlights digital gap between developed and developing economies, blocks China-led investment deal. So blowing all expectations out of water and leaving behind the economies of other countries, India's gross domestic product grew 8.4% in the December quarter. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote on social media platform X, and I quote, robust 8.4% GDP growth in quarter 3 2023-24 shows the strength of Indian economy and its potential. Our efforts will continue to bring fast economic growth, which shall help 140 crore Indians lead a better life and create a Viksit Bharat. At 8.4%, the latest quarterly GDP growth rate is the highest in 7 quarters. The data released by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation on Thursday revealed that government's financial discipline has encouraged the private sector for investment. The arrival of foreign tourists in India at pre-COVID levels is also a positive indication. The current account deficit in India is estimated to remain at 1%, and the estimated rate of economic development for the current fiscal year is 7.6%. The country's economy is estimated to grow at a rate of 7% next year. Challenges remain on the global front of energy security, but there has been good progress in India. There is an expectation of improvement in people's income and rural development next year. The government and RBI are working together to ensure stability in the country's banking system. Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth jointly inaugurated their new airstrip and St. James Jetti, along with 6 community development projects at the Agalega Island in Mauritius via video conferencing, further fostering relations between the two traditional allies. Akshay Dongra of DD India gets us more.
A new milestone in the relations of India and Mauritius as Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Pravind Jugnauth, jointly inaugurated a new airstrip and St. James Jetti, along with 6 community development projects at the Agalega Island in Mauritius via video conferencing. The inauguration of these projects came as a testimony to the robust and decades-old development partnership between India and Mauritius and aims to fulfill the demand for better connectivity between mainland Mauritius and Agalega, strengthen maritime security and foster socio-economic development.
डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप हमारे राजनीतिक संबंधों का अहम स्तंभ रहा है। हमारी विकास भागीदारी मॉरिशस की प्राथमिकताओं पर आधारित है, चाहे वो मॉरिशस की EEZ सुरक्षा से जुड़ी जरूरतें हो या फिर हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी। भारत ने हमेशा मॉरिशस की जरूरतों का सम्मान किया है। संकट कोविड महामारी का हो या तेल रिसाव का, भारत हमेशा अपने मित्र मॉरिशस के लिए फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर रहा है। मॉरिशस के सामान्य मानवी के जीवन में सार्थक बदलाव हो, यही हमारे प्रयासों का मूल उद्देश्य है.
The inauguration of these projects is significant as it follows the recent launch of UPI and RuPay card services in Mauritius by the two leaders. Terming Mauritius as a significant partner for India's neighbourhood first policy, PM Modi said that the two countries have achieved new heights in terms of mutual cooperation. Praising India as global powerhouse, Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Jagannath said that India's aspiring leadership radiates across the world.
The setting up of the new airstrip and jetty facilities in Agalega is the fulfillment of yet another Mauritian dream, which many generations have lived in their hearts. This could not have been possible without the assistance of India, which has entirely financed these infrastructural projects. Shri Modi ji, I wish to convey to you the profound gratitude of the government and the people of Mauritius for the special consideration you have given to our country ever since you assumed responsibility as the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
Mauritius also became the first nation to adapt the Jan Aushadhi scheme, which allows the sourcing of about 250 high-quality medicines from the Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Bureau of India. The inauguration of these projects is significant as it follows the recent launch of UPI and RuPay card services in Mauritius by the two leaders on 12th of February 2024, significantly enhancing the partnership between the two allies of the Global South. Bureau Report, TD India.
And we are very glad to be joined by our guest, Professor Ruchita Bere. She is Consultant Africa Centre MP IDSA. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us. To begin with, if you could just outline the significance of the jetty services and setting up of airstrip, especially in the security domain for both countries.
Yeah, see, this is a very important event which has taken place today. India and Mauritius are very close partners for a very long time, but today's inauguration of the jetty and these airstrip signifies closer maritime cooperation between India and Mauritius. Mauritius is an island country in the Indian Ocean region, and India has in the last 10 years projected the Indian Ocean region as an important area of cooperation, particularly the African littoral countries. And the policy is driven by the vision of Prime Minister Modi of Sagar, which is security and growth for all. So therefore, this inauguration of this airstrip and the jetty would definitely enhance the maritime security of Mauritius as a whole. It will increase the connectivity between the main island in Mauritius with Agalega. So that will facilitate the people's movement between the islands. So it is both a development boost to the Mauritians and also a significant boost to their own maritime security.
The two leaders, in fact, in the last 6 months have had more than 4 meetings, rather 5th meetings. And India has reiterated that Mauritius occupies a very significant place when it comes to India's neighbourhood first policy. So do you see this development in terms of maritime security a sort of paradigm shift as far as the relationship between the two are concerned and the alignment as far as the Indian Ocean region is concerned?
See, first of all, you must remember that this is not a new development. This was promised by Prime Minister Modi in 2015 during his visit to Mauritius. That was the time when the announcement of the launch of this project had taken place. And now India has completed, as Prime Minister Modi said, this is Modi ka promise, which he has delivered. So obviously there is an improvement in the relationship between the two countries. India already says that that Mauritius is a key partner in among the African littoral countries, and with this particular launch and inauguration,
Sure.
The relationship has definitely moved one step higher.
Okay, the Mauritius also, in fact, has adopted the Jan Aushadhi scheme. So how do you see this?
See, health has been an important area of concern both for India and for the larger global South. Especially after the COVID pandemic, health issues have been something of a concern. So India has been trying to support the other countries in the global South through its policies, and the Jan Aushadhi scheme provides an opportunity to the Mauritian people to get linked up with India in terms of easier access to medicines and other equipment from India. And this would definitely be a boost to the deficit of medicines within Mauritius and the larger global South.
Right, not to forget the recent launch of RuPay card and UPI there as well.
We're already cooperating in terms of improving the digital infrastructure of Mauritius, and so digital infrastructure, health issues, health concerns, connectivity, maritime security. There's a whole bouquet of issues in which India and Mauritius are now cooperating.
Right.
So obviously that means the relationship is moving one step further.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you very much, Ms. Berry, for joining us and putting this in perspective. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And still to come on DT India News Hour. First up, on the Israel-Hamas conflict, families and supporters of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza continue their 4-day march to Jerusalem. France's Senate adopted a bill to enshrine women's right to an abortion in the constitution. Will US top court's decision to hear Trump's claims of immunity amid nomination contest impact upcoming Republican primaries? We tell you more on the other side.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and let's move on to the latest on Russia-Ukraine war front. Just a day before the funeral of Russia's main opposition figure Alexei Navalny, and amid the 2-year-long war with Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin has delivered a powerful State of the Nation address. Putin warned that any escalation by NATO could and I quote, trigger the use of nuclear weapons, unquote, and expressed his growing confidence in the direction of war. He also accused NATO of preparing to strike Russian territory. Syed Hassan has more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered his annual State of the Nation address on Thursday, updating the nation on the war in Ukraine, Moscow's nuclear capability, the country's economy and relations with the West. The speech comes 2 weeks ahead of a presidential election in which Putin is expected to win another 6-year term in landslide. Putin cautioned NATO countries, stating that they risk nuclear conflict by deploying troops to Ukraine.
We also have weapons. They know about this. And I just said we also have a weapon that can hit targets on their territory. And they should understand that what they are doing now, trying to scare the whole world, it does risk a conflict with nuclear weapons, which means the destruction of civilization. Don't they understand this or what?
Putin stated that Russia is prepared for a dialogue with the US on strategic stability, but he rejected any attempts to coerce Russia into negotiations.
Russia is ready for dialogue with the United States on the issue of strategic stability. Our position is clear. If you want to discuss the significant, important issue of security and stability, which is important for the entire planet, you must do so only in a single junction. Naturally, including all those aspects that affect our national interests and directly affect the security of our country.
Putin also said Russia had used advanced weapon systems, including Zircon hypersonic missiles, and that it held the military advantage in Ukraine. On the ground, Russia asserted control over a strategic village in the Ukrainian Avdiivka direction. Meanwhile, Ukraine reported a launching attack on Russian air defense system. The Russian army repelled several assaults by the Ukrainian army and initiated offensives in Kupiansk and other directions, resulting in destruction of the Ukrainian army equipment, including tanks, armored vehicles and self-propelled artillery. Syed Afsarul Hassan for DD India.
And DD India's Dasha Chernashova has sent us this report from Moscow.
Well, what Moscow is saying that it does see the destructive course of Washington against the Russian Federation. The Russian president has been talking about that for months, if not years, suggesting that the ruling elites in the US are not interested in ending the confrontation between Moscow and the West. Instead, they are, according to the Russian president, only sparking that. And it is very difficult to talk about strategic stability with the United States, which is saying that they do want to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia on the battlefield in Ukraine. So the statement of the Russian president could also be seen as an invitation for the Western countries to change their course towards the Russian Federation, because keep in mind, the Russian president was talking a lot about the development of the most sophisticated weapons that Moscow has been working on for years now, and that are now on combat duty and in use, including in Ukraine. Russian president said that should NATO troops get on the ground in Ukraine, that would inevitably lead to a potential nuclear conflict. And that is certainly not what people in Russia or beyond would like to see, because Russia is a nuclear power, but a responsible one, as the Russian politicians have been talking before, suggesting that the Russian military doctrine provides for the specific cases when the nuclear weapons could be used. And we are not there yet, but Moscow is definitely sending a message to the Western countries that Russia does have this arsenal and reminds of it.
And in latest from Israel-Hamas conflict, Israeli tanks and armored vehicles were seen exiting the Gaza Strip near the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. On Thursday, as fighting in the Palestinian enclave bore on, an Israeli government spokesperson initially blamed Thursday's incident on 8 trucks driven by Palestinians ploughing into the crowd in chaotic scenes. Meanwhile, Israeli families and supporters of the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza continued their 4-day march to Jerusalem, which started on Wednesday. Now, demonstrators called for parties involved in ongoing negotiations for a truce in Gaza to close the deal, demanding the release of their loved ones. The march will wind through the different Israeli towns before ending in Jerusalem on 2nd of March.
You can see the march. All Israel is with us. All the nation, everybody. We need the cabinet. We need our prime minister. We need America, Qatar, Cairo, everybody who is in there to close the deal.
Meanwhile, United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has addressed the UN Human Rights Council session in Geneva on Thursday, where he accused all involved parties of committing war crimes in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict.
Clear violations of international human rights and humanitarian laws, including war crimes and possibly other crimes under international law, have been committed by all parties.
Yemen's Houthis will introduce military surprises in their Red Sea operations, the group's leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi has said. Houthi militants have repeatedly launched drones and missiles against international commercial shipping since mid-November, saying they are acting in solidarity with Palestinians against Israel's military actions in Gaza. The United States and Britain began striking Houthi targets in Yemen last month in retaliation for the attacks on Red Sea shipping. France's Senate adopted a bill to enshrine women's right to an abortion in the constitution. The bill cleared a key hurdle for legislation promised by President Emmanuel Macron. 267 senators voted in favor of the bill, while 50 against it. The access to abortion now has been extended to 14 weeks of pregnancy from 12 weeks. The text adopted by the Senate seeks to modify Article 34 of the French Constitution. The next step is to finalize the inscription for the National Assembly and the Senate to hold a Congress in Versailles, in which two-thirds majority vote is needed. Leaders of the 6 Western Balkan states on Thursday agreed to cut costs of financial transactions across the region by the end of the year, which would be the first step towards accession to the single EU market. Leaders of the 6 Western Balkan countries, namely Albania, Bosnia, Kosovo, Montenegro, North Macedonia and Serbia, met in Tirana to discuss the reforms needed to assess the EU €6 billion growth plan presented last October. The new road plan will allow to bring transaction costs to the same level of the European member states.
Commissioner Oliver Varhelyi.
And after all, to be frank with you, it shouldn't be such a major difficulty, as the banking system is largely run by banks of European banks. So they should be able to apply the same rules as they are applying back home. The challenge is how fast we could get these rules on the ground and how fast they could be applied. But I think there was a broad agreement that this should be done still this year, and this could be done still this year.
Moving on, U.S. Supreme Court's decision to take up Donald Trump's bid for immunity from criminal prosecution raises the prospect that a trial to hold him accountable for trying to overturn the 2020 election could face a lengthy delay, potentially until after the November election. And with the ruling likely by the end of June, a trial this year remains a possibility. That's the big question. And that too with a little margin for further setbacks. Another big question. Rabindra Chauhan of DD News gets us more.
The U.S. Supreme Court's decision to hear former President Donald Trump's claims of immunity amid the nomination contest for presidential election 2024 might have an impact on the upcoming Republican primaries. Excited by this decision, Trump expressed that without presidential immunity, a president would not be able to function properly or make decisions in the best interest of the United States. Facing unprecedented legal troubles in civil and criminal cases, Trump seeks the Republican nomination. A Cook County judge on Wednesday ordered the state election board to remove Donald Trump from Illinois' March 19 primary ballot because of his role in the insurrection of the U.S. Capitol on the 6th of January 2021. Edging closer to a rematch of the last presidential election, both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump had won the Michigan primaries on Tuesday and have now headed to the U.S.-Mexico border on Thursday to review large-scale migration an issue that could ultimately decide the US presidential election. Rabindra Chauhan's report, DD India.
Staying with news from US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is due to testify to Congress about his secret hospitalization. Although a review released this week by the Pentagon found there had been no deliberate attempt by Austin, the 3-page unclassified review summary did not expand on what was already known about the timeline of Austin's hospitalization. Lawmakers are set to ask him why he waited 3 days to alert top officials after he went to hospital in January for complications from prostate cancer surgery. Well, India has blocked China-led investment deal at the World Trade Organization or WTO. The proposal, which is known as the Investment Facilitation Development Agreement, is unlikely to be included in the final outcome document of the ongoing ministerial conference. And India has opposed proposal as it says it will dilute multilateral nature of the WTO. Vinod Kumar gets us more from Abu Dhabi.
The 13th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization is taking place in Abu Dhabi. India, along with South Africa, successfully blocked a key proposal led by China at the World Trade Organization on the third day of the conference. The proposal, known as the Investment Facilitation Development Agreement, is unlikely to be included in the final outcome document of the ongoing ministerial conference. India opposed the proposal, saying it will dilute the multilateral nature of the WTO. Experts have hailed India for such a move.
India needs to be complimented for having taken a very strong stand on the issue of investment facilitation and blocking the integration of this agreement into the WTO family of agreements. And for very good reasons, India has taken this strong principled stand, which actually upholds the WTO rules.
India stresses the imperative need for policy flexibility to foster digital industrialization, particularly for developing and least developed countries. During the working session on the e-commerce work program, India delineated the transformative potential of digital industrialization in propelling economic growth and prosperity, especially in regions facing developmental challenges. Emphasizing the dominance of a handful of firms from developed nations in the global e-commerce sphere, India highlights the pressing digital gap between developed and developing economies, hindering the latter's participation in global e-commerce. Vinod Kumar's report from Abu Dhabi for DD India.
And now it's time to take a look at the other stories making news around the world. The United Nations peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has initiated its withdrawal from the country after 25 years. It transferred the charge of the Kamanyola base to Congolese authorities on Wednesday. Environmental activists gathering at the forest adjoining Tesla's Gigafactory in Germany's Brandenburg to protest plans of the electric car manufacturer to expand its factory. Around 100 protesters erected wooden platforms and tree houses in the forest, opposing the potential harm to the environment due to the Tesla factory. And world's first jet suit race was held in Dubai Harbour in United Arab Emirates. Dubai Sports Council co-hosted the event along with the Gravity Industries, the manufacturer of the jet suits. And some more news. A high-precision surgical robot assisted by the artificial intelligence attracted visitors at the annual Mobile World Congress in the Spanish city of Barcelona. The robot applies sensory feedback to the surgeon during critical moments of surgery. And now we take a short break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay with us.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times. Mysterious case of Julian Assange. The future of lunar exploration. And the biggest snake discovered in the Amazon rainforests. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India. Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. And before we move on, let's take a quick look at the top stories we're tracking for you, the headlines. India's GDP grows at 8.4% in December quarter. Financial year 24 growth pegged at 7.6%. Prime Minister Modi says robust GDP growth shows strength of Indian economy and its potential. In a giant leap for India's semiconductor mission, 3 mega semiconductor fabrication plants to be set up in partnership with Japan, Taiwan and Thailand. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns of nuclear war risk if NATO troops are sent to Ukraine, says Moscow ready for dialogue with the United States on strategic stability. Well, in a significant move in a semiconductor space, the Indian cabinet has approved the setting up of 3 semiconductor units, marking a big leap towards making India a self-reliant country in the space and also break the global hegemony of any one country. These units will make chips for sectors which include defense, automobiles and telecommunications, and will also begin construction within the next 100 days. India's Telecom Minister Ashwini Vaishnav told reporters in briefing on Thursday. In fact, with this move, India is set to emerge as a design and manufacturing hub for semiconductors in years to come. I get you more in this report that follows. The Union Cabinet chaired by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given go-ahead for the establishment of 3 semiconductor units under Development of Semiconductors and Display Manufacturing Ecosystems in India program. All 3 units will start construction within the next 100 days. Advanced packaging technologies will be indigenously developed in India with this announcement.
देश में सेमीकंडक्टर फैब का अप्रूवल देश के लिए बहुत बड़ा निर्णायक मोड़ है ये, और आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाने की जो संकल्प लिया है प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, उस संकल्प की बहुत बड़ी ये सिद्धि है। पहली कॉमर्शियल फैब भारत की बनेगी टाटा और पावर चिप ताइवान, इनके कोलैबोरेशन से धोलेरा स्पेशल इंडस्ट्रियल रीजन के अंदर बनेगी पहली semiconductor fab.
The multitude of strategic significance of Mission Semiconductor ranges from establishing the semiconductor ecosystem in India to leveraging India's deep capabilities in chip design and developing capabilities in chip fabrication. More semiconductor units will also lead to accelerated employment in automotive, electronics, manufacturing and other sectors. Advanced packaging technologies will also be indigenously developed in India with Thursday's announcement. The Indian Cabinet's approval of semiconductor fab or semiconductor fabrication unit is a significant step towards making India a self-reliant country in semiconductor space. Besides this, India is also seeking foreign investments for its indigenous semiconductor industry for the development and design of fabrication units impacting India's semiconductor ambitions. Sakal Bhatt's report for DD India. And we're very glad to be joined by our guest on the story, Prasar Sharma, who is the founder and CEO of WAS, and joining us this evening. Thank you very much, sir. But how do you see this development in terms of a big boost for India emerging as the next big thing when it comes to design and manufacturing hub?
It's a giant leap, not only for India, but for the whole global diplomacy and tech world. Because if you see, there is like one country dominating this space, around 75% of manufacturing is coming from there, and whole ecosystem is dependent on them. And if you talk about nodes below 10 nanometers, around 92% of manufacturing is done in Taiwan. So not only India, the world needs this, and I think this is a kind of decisions which we can, equate to like industrial revolution. It's a tech revolutions, chip revolutions, which is done in 7th attempt around, as our honorable minister also mentioned, India attempted around 6 times for this, but this time we are successful. And globally, there are around 170 fabrication units. Till now, there was not in a single unit in India, but now we proudly can say we have it. And with a mega capacity of 300 crore chips will be manufactured there on annual basis, which will cater around 8 segments. And that segments are also very, very critical, not only for Indian economy, but also defense and strategic alignment also. It's high computing, it's in EV, it's in automobile sectors, defense sectors, and also AI, which is critical for all kind of domains. So I think it's a huge leap, and it will be a historic milestone for Indian ecosystem as well as global ecosystem.
2 points here, this being leap, or since you a giant leap, as you rightly put it, for breaking the hegemony of that one particular country. B, a big boost when it comes to Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliance as well.
It is definitely, and not only it will make us Atmanirbhar, but I think the whole industry will benefit from it, and overall global economy will depend on it, because semiconductors are nowadays used everywhere, whether it's high-tech fighter jets or your TV or video games. So it touches all aspect of your life. So not only Atmanirbhar Bharat, but a Samarth Bharat, Sashakt Bharat for global peace and multilateral equilibrium.
All right. One final question, just to break this further for the audience to understand the overall strategic significance of this move. We slightly hinted upon the diplomacy part of it, but this in terms of accelerating that massive chunk of employment in the tech sector, organized and unorganized also.
Yeah, it will be a huge, for at least for 3 to 4 decades, it will keep creating jobs. If you see the impact of the previously announced Micron semiconductor plant, they were thinking of around 60,000 plus jobs directly and indirectly. And this is much larger and in 2 big states. And one highlight of this is a first of kind in Northeast in Assam. So this will create, I would say, at least 8 to 10 lakh jobs directly, indirectly, and it will also, give impetus to our MSMEs in various sectors, whether it's packaging, where is in the supply chain, and also some basic support system also. And other ways, it will also create the capacity of our, R&D and our youth also. Because with this, we are also conducting an R&D and excellence center in Gandhinagar IIT.
Right.
And I think this will also increase our IPR, like patents related to this field, which is also very, very important in this world.
All right, we leave it there. Many thanks, Mr. Prasar, for joining us and explaining the significance of this big development. Thank you very much. And now it's time to move on to some more international updates. Amidst the walkout by the trainee doctors Rao in South Korea, thousands of them have refuted on Thursday to return back to work. The South Korean government has warned the doctors to end their mass strike or face license suspension if they fail to do so. Two-thirds of the country's residents and intern doctors have walked off the job, protesting the government's plan to raise the number of students admitted to medical school each year by 2,000. Protesters say the government should first address pay and working conditions before trying to increase the number of physicians. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Thursday addressed the inaugural session of the Asia Economic Dialogue 2024 virtually. The External Affairs Minister highlighted three broad geo-economic challenges stemming from the nature of globalization.
This edition focuses very appropriately on the geo-economic challenges of our times. Today, these broadly fall into three categories. One is the supply chain challenge that has arisen from a particular economic hardwiring created by the globalization era. Whether it is finished products, intermediates or components, the world is dangerously dependent on a limited number of suppliers. The second is the technology challenge, which grows by the day given our reliance on it for more aspects of our daily life. The digital era has given it an altogether different connotation because it is so intrusive. The third is the challenge of over-concentrations stemming from the nature of globalization. They are heightened by unpredictability and opaqueness. We discovered this most sharply during the COVID period. But from time to time, we are also reminded when market dominance is weaponized.
India's coal ministry has initiated multiple efforts to bolster India's energy security. With energy demand set to soar, coal consumption is projected to rise to 1.5 billion tons by 2030. A comprehensive coal logistics plan and policy have been devised, focusing on building a cutting-edge, efficient and sustainable logistics network for coal transportation. The strategic blueprint aims to stimulate growth and self-reliance within the coal sector by reducing reliance on imported coal, aligning with the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
So we need to expand our capacity. We are at the cusp of creating the history by producing 1 billion ton coal this financial year. By 31st March, we will be doing 1 billion ton. Yes. And we will continue to register growth in the production in coming years. We need an infrastructure befitting to increasing the production.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has launched the electronic data interchange or EDI at land customs stations of India's northeastern states via virtual mode in New Delhi on Thursday. With these remote LCS getting EDI enabled, the movement of goods and customs clearances will now become more efficient and will enhance regional trade and economic growth.
In the densely populated areas such as the northeastern border with Bangladesh, sensitive border areas such as the northeastern border with Myanmar, these are very highly vulnerable areas. So it is important that we keep ourselves alert when we are manning these posts. As much as you would want to make sure that smuggling of precious metal or metal or dangerous drugs don't come into India, you need to act on every actionable intelligence that you receive when you're talking about the country's cultural rich heritage. We do not want many of our antiques to just be taken away like this. India often exchanges or provides on a lien the Buddhist relics to various friendly nations. We send them as a part of our goodwill building
For the first time in the world, an Indian company has developed a kit that can convert any two-wheeler into a hybrid vehicle. Electronic vehicles are the future of transportation, but there are many fears in the minds of customers about EVs, like low range and charging problems. A solution to these problems has now been found in India.
It's a conversion to petrol bike to hybrid mode, electric as well as petrol. One for the petrol, one for the electric one. For example, first 100 kilometer if you run from electric and your battery got exhausted, then you switch off this battery one and switch on the petrol one. It's a matter of fraction of seconds only. If you talk about the range, it varies from 60 to 120 kilometer. And for speed, it varies from 70 to 125 kilometer.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news. India's President Draupadi Murmu inaugurates a national seminar on tribes of Keonjhar people, culture and heritage at Dharanidhar University in Odisha's Keonjhar on Thursday. She also inaugurated an exhibition of tribal costumes, jewellery and food items on the occasion. The Honourable President said that the traditional knowledge of the tribals can be applied for the benefit of human society. India's Women and Children Development Minister Smriti Irani has launched the Poshan Utsav Celebrating Nutrition event in New Delhi on Thursday. The event highlighted efforts to combat malnutrition and foster healthier lifestyles among children. Former Microsoft CEO Bill Gates also graced the event. Indian Army conducts Talent Hunt Music Festival at Government Higher Secondary School for Youth and Children of India's Jammu and Kashmir. The Talent Hunt Show and Music Festival provided a platform to all the local youngsters, showcasing immaculate cultural diaspora. And still to come on DD India News Hour, coming up next. Bill Gates at IIT Delhi lauds progress made by India in digital public interface.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
You're watching DD India's News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and let's move on. If we innovate without empathy, we are only solving puzzles. This was the message by Bill Gates. He delivered his keynote address, Innovation for Public Good at IIT Delhi. DD India's Vishal Baristo gets us more.
On a week-long visit to India, Bill Gates visited the campus of Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Interacting with the students, Bill Gates lauded the progress made by India in the field of digital public interface. Gates said that during the last decade, India has made commendable progress.
The continuous improvement, I'd say the health system, the education system, and the entrepreneurship. I love the fact that the tech sector has grown so much. It started with the services. It was actually the association, NASCOM, was more about consulting than it was unique software. But we all knew that that would change over time. Now we have, incredible examples of successful companies here. I think many of the technologists, even at a young age, are thinking in social terms.
Speaking on the question of artificial intelligence, Bill Gates said that it has got a great future. AI could be used in solving the challenges of malnutrition, farming and climate change.
With AI, in its current form, you're talking about, sort of white-collar type thinking almost becoming free. We have to get the quality up and the cost down, but that's the direction we're headed in. And then there'll be a complementary revolution as the AI is embodied into physical robots that will be quite revolutionary from a blue-collar work point of view.
On this occasion, Bill Gates also unveiled the Tech Fest of IIT Delhi, Trist 24. Vishal Baristo's report for DD India.
Well, climate change continues to accelerate as the world is witnessing increasingly erratic weather patterns, and from uncontrolled wildfires in Texas to unprecedented drought situation in Italy, extreme weather conditions are becoming more and more frequent and more intense. Fairs of DD India gets its more.
These visuals on your screen are of devastating aftermath of Texas wildfires captured by a drone. The images show scorched fields and destroyed neighborhoods in Stinnett after the second largest wildfire in Texas history across the Panhandle and parts of Oklahoma, scorching over 850,000 acres of land since Monday. This led to widespread evacuations, road closure and power cuts to thousands of homes. Governor of Texas has issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties and urged Texans to limit their activities. The residents were forced to flee their homes and finally they got shelter in a church.
And the church here has been real good about letting us spend the night here. And they said we can't spend the night here anymore. Really? But I've been on the phone all morning trying to get assistance from VA and any place else I can pick up assistance.
Severe storms in Ohio and Michigan caused widespread damage in the early hours of Wednesday, leaving thousands without power. A large swath of destroyed homes and uprooted trees could be seen throughout Clark County in Ohio. In Europe, Italian firefighters brought dozens of stranded people into safety after the heavy rains triggered flash floods, and even stranded people were airlifted to safety in Montebello. Authorities elevated the alert level for potential extreme weather events, anticipating exceptional rainfall in the days that followed. Italy's Sicily is now facing unprecedented severe drought after a lack of winter rainfall, raising concerns the island could become one of the few regions in Europe's red drought zone. The southern Italian region is experiencing its hottest winter in 60 years, and the residents are coping with severe decline in water resources.
There is no water, and we must come here to get it. We are facing a lot of problems. Without water, we cannot do anything. The issue of water in Agrigento is a long-standing problem. As you can see, there are a whole series of tanks above the roofs, yet we pay a lot for water. Water in Agrigento is gold.
The evolving weather patterns globally highlight the urgent need for proactive measures to mitigate climate change, so adapting the resilience strategies and international cooperation are imperative to address the escalating climate change.
You're watching DD India's News Hour, and now time for some sports news. Well, a glittering closing ceremony with musical performances from local artists marked the end of the 4th Khelo India University Games 2023 in the presence of Assam Sports Minister Nandita Gorlosa and Joint Secretary in India's Sports Ministry Prem Kumar Jha on Thursday. Chandigarh University were crowned the overall champions with a total of 71 medals, 32 gold, 18 silver, 21 bronze. This is the first time that Chandigarh University has won the overall crown. Lovely Professional University were a distant second with 20 gold, 14 silver and 8 bronze, while Guru Nanak Dev University bagged 12 gold, 20 silver, 19 bronze. and were only contingent apart from the champions to cross the 50 medal mark. Well, Indian Air Force organised an exciting volleyball tournament in New Delhi on Thursday, known as the 18th Air Force Civilians Volleyball Intercommand Tournament. It showcased the athletic talents of the civilian employees of the Indian Air Force. In a thrilling final match, Headquarter Maintenance Command triumphed over Headquarter Western Air Command 3 Love to claim the championship trophy. The closing ceremony was graced by Air Marshal C.R. Mohan, AVSM, VSM.
Sports have long been an integral aspect of the Indian Air Force. Continuing this proud tradition, the Indian Air Force organised the 18th Air Force Civilian Intercommand Volleyball Tournament in New Delhi. In the final match, Headquarter Maintenance Command defeated Headquarter Western Air Command and lifted the trophy. The closing and prize distribution ceremony of the tournament was graced by the Air Marshal C.R. Mohan, AVSM VSM, who served as the chief guest of the event. He awarded the trophy to the victorious team.
I am very proud of our civilian employees and have full faith in their capability and dedication. I would like to reiterate that support for promoting sports and welfare activities for the civilian employees of the Indian Air Force will continue in the times to come. I congratulate ACA's PANC, Director PC, and officials of the PC Directorate for making this tournament such a grand success.
The tournament provided a platform for civilian employees of the Indian Air Force to showcase their athletic prowess and spirit of competition. By organizing such events, the Indian Air Force not only promotes physical fitness and sportsmanship, but also reinforces the sense of community and collaboration among its members.
Sports is an integral part of the Indian Air Force, whether on the field or in the cockpit. The brilliance and the excellence of the sportsmanship permeates in every aspect of the Indian Air Force's operations, embodying the ethos of touch the sky with glory. With camera person Manmohan, Narayan Singh for DD India, New Delhi.
Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and from all of us here in New Delhi team, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.